in Nigeria, Elon Musk Starlink has halted orders for its home kit, stating that the hold will be lifted once the Nigerian Communications Commission has approved the company's recently announced price increase. However, the company does accept orders for its premium business plan, which permits it to charge 159,000 naira per month for subscription, while the residential plan costs 38,000 naira per month. Now, the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited and its iron ore mine in Itape will be privatized by the federal government as part of efforts to restart operations, according to a statement made by Nigeria's Minister of Steel Development, Shoaib Abubakar Aldu. Now, the announcement was made in Abuja at the 9th Nigerian Mining Week. The government's all-encompassing plan to revitalize the mining industry was showcased at the event. Dr. Oluwanbepelumi Olanubi, co-founder of Kingsgate Advisors Institute, joins me now to discuss this further. Good morning to you, Dr. Olanubi. I hope I pronounced your name all right. I did? I'm glad to hear it. Good morning to you.
Morning.
All right, we have quite a bit to get through today. Let's begin with the Naira. What do you make of the recent weakness we've seen?
I mean, I'm not surprised, really. The fundamentals are still the same, so we don't expect a significant change or difference, or we don't expect any strengthening, as it were. The reason why we've seen this decline is because the supply-demand gap or differentials is still very much intense and is very wide. That's why we're seeing that. Looking at the demand side, we see households, individuals, businesses, trying to keep dollars just to have a sense of safe haven, in a bit to what we call store of value, to have a sense of store of their value. And also we've seen the demand for FX as a result of travels, end of the year travels, and also some trying to save up for tuition fees early next year. We'll still see this, the demand also from the exporters, investors is still there. So the demand pressure is still very much there. And we have not seen so much corresponding supply, starting from the oil production, although we've seen a sense of rebound from the oil production and has increased to like 1.8 million barrels per day. This is still far below our production capacity of 2.2 million barrels a day. And that also being said, there's still this oil swap issues that we have where we produce oil, we don't export oil. We still have to pay some form of crude for investors and all that. Also, from the supply side, we are not seeing so much investments coming in terms of portfolio investments as we would have expected, given the exchange rate reforms that we've seen. And also, we've seen that the rate at which the central bank intervenes, both in the in the official market, and also the rate at which they sell to BDCs. Also, it's unpredictable and it's really slow. So these are the factors pushing pressure on the FX market, and that's why we are seeing this sense of weakness in the Naira.
Oh, interesting shifts we're seeing there. But now, as we know, Christmas is upon us.
Yeah,
do you think that we're going to see more weakness as we get closer to it?
Yeah, so if the fundamentals still remain the same as it is right now, I'm not seeing any sense of appreciation, right? But I don't think the Naira to dollar rate will touch 2,000 to a dollar yet.
You reckon?
I don't think so. The reason I said so because I know that the demand is the supply-demand shortage is still there, but we'll still see a sense of intervention from the central bank, in order to cushion for that. And that impact will not be so loud. The demand pressure will not be so much that it will push the Naira yet 1,000. We might still see it touch 1,850 towards the end of the year.
Okay, well, that's interesting to hear. We have to keep our eyes peeled and see where that goes. But, the CBN's FX reserve has risen to $40 billion. Now, yes, this is the highest amount, certainly in almost about 3 years, I would say. Absolutely. Does this give it ammunition to intervene in the FX market over time?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I think the dollar rate would not touch 2,000 to a dollar yet is because we will still see a sense of intervention from the central bank. And good for us that the Forex reserve has touched the $4 billion threshold, which we have hovered around, for a couple of months now, and we're able to touch that threshold. And that shows that as a country now, we have import cover for about 15 months, which is a good standing. And also from the central bank governor himself, he said the reason why they are trying to build this is so that they can have enough buffers for in case of adverse shock that might come, especially in 2025. So I think they want to keep the FX Forex threshold to remain around that $40 billion per threshold, so that then the intervention in the FX market might not be as we expected, but we'll still see some sense of intervention. But they want to keep it at that $40 billion just for buffers.
Okay, I mean, depending on how one looks at it, it's a good place to be. Well, depending on where one looks at it. But then let's look at the Naira weakness in Nigeria, which has certainly contributed to inflation. And for these kinds of reasons, you see Elon Musk Starlink raising its prices. Do you see a justification for this price raise, in their view?
Just like every other capitalist or business owner, you are in operation just to make sense of profit. And when you make your costs, you check your costs, it also affects what your pricing would be. Starlink has been in Nigeria for a while, and have been operational. But one thing about the internet, one thing about Starlink is that they have a niche of customers that they target. So they target more what I'll call the high-end consumers or business owners, basically because of the affordability and even the accessibility. Currently now they sell for individual subscriber, they pay like 39,000 for monthly subscription, and for businesses 159,000. That's not something affordable for what I'll call the average Nigerian, right? However, we've seen that the market is growing. Take, for instance, for cities like Lagos, for Port Harcourt, Benin City, even Warri, we've seen that they've exhausted or they've come to full capacity. So they need more investments in order to accommodate more what I'll call subscribers. So these are the reasons why, and given the exchange rate environments, inflationary environments, these are the inputs they put together to determine their pricing. So those are the factors they are considering. And it's only fair on them to be able to make fair profits, to also consider all this volatility and the general business environment to make their pricing. So I wouldn't say I would say it's a bad thing, really, to increase price.
Yeah, so absolutely. Fair is fair, and business is business, isn't it? So it's subject to the environment. But the NCC is yet to approve this price hike. Is there a reason for the hesitation?
Yes, because NCC is a form of regulator that sort of have some functions in terms of consumer protection, rather, and also is a sense of regulating if, say, this said company is giving the best, services as they said they would. So, if you ask me, a 97% price increase is really on the high side, given that Nigerian consumers at this time is already what I would call, we're already under what we call economic constraints, right? So at this time, it's really very high, and a form of regulation is just to check. And also, Starlink went ahead to even increase the price without checking with NCC. So these are the things they are putting in place, that you cannot just increase price this way. It has to be, and in my own opinion, I feel this price increase is too high. Although they have a target audience, they have a niche that they are targeting at. But even at that, the rates at which they are increasing the price should also reflect the realities of their consumers.
But you see, some say that the government should just stay out of price caps and let market forces, determine these prices. What's your take on that?
So on that, it depends on the sector, it depends on the country, and it also depends on the regulatory environment. Take, for instance, the telcos, I'll call telcos and internet producing service providers. They operate in what we call an oligopoly market structure. This is such that we have a dominant market player and we have other market players who are not really major players. For Starlink, Spectranet, Smile, they all have their own target audience. They have their target market. And for MTN, the likes of telcos like MTN, Airtel, they also have their target audience. And the role of regulators in this sense is to ensure that pricing are fair for consumers, and pricing reflects economic reality in terms of costs of production and also what it is. So I won't say in an absolute sense, government or regulator should not sort of intervene, really. Given this context, it is fair to give a market cap when the consumers are being suppressed, as it were, and when you feel like producers are making excessive profits or returns. So it depends really on the sector and up to the regulatory environments in the sector.
So we pretty much need a watchdog or somebody who's just going to be there to make sure that things don't go out of hand. But moving from technology to still now, what do you make of the federal government? Again, we go back to the government planning to privatize the Ajaokuta steel company and its iron ore mine.
If this will make the, if this is going to make the steel, Ajaokuta has been what we call a white elephant. It has been a project, I'll call it has been for decades. I've had a lot of conversations. We've had a lot of, in fact, during the last Buhari administration, he clearly said we're ready to do some concessional on Ajaokuta steel. But eventually we did not say anything. Earlier this year, there was even a plan to raise some funds to revitalize the project. Also, we have not seen. So if privatization, that's selling to the private sector, is going to cut it for us, we need industrialization. One thing that if the steel company is operational, Ajaokuta Steel Company is operational right now, is going to drive industrialization. And we know that industrialization is the bedrock for economic growth. We've been saying we want 2-digit economic growth. We want Nigeria to diversify from oil. And these are the things that we can do to actually bring us to that threshold, that can bring us to have that 2-digit growth rate that we want. Industrialization is important because of the impact that it will have on the economy. So if privatization is going to cut it for us, please, let's have it.
And for those who don't quite grasp the real understanding of why you have the impact of this project itself, what benefits would you say Nigerians will enjoy from having a functioning steel company?
I mean, it's enormous. I'll start by saying the industrialization itself, that will drive economic activity. It will drive productivity. It will also improve employment. There will be transfer of knowledge, expertise, when we have expertise coming in, when they're operational, more investments in the company, in the country. We'll see if there is more employment generation, both the skilled and unskilled labor, you see upskilling and all that. It will affect the per capita income, reduce poverty and the likes. Also, we'll see the double-digit growth rate that we've always wanted. Productivity will increase, more investments in the economy, and also a sense of exports. When we produce enough, that would also drive manufacturing, that will drive even agriculture in terms of tractor and the likes. They use steel in all this production, construction, just name it, all this sector. The interlinkages is actually high. So if it's a project that if the government decides to sell and we see investments coming in, Nigeria is on its path to that industrialization that we missed decades ago.
So the multiplier effect cannot be understated.
Yes,
it's very interesting to know. Well, in wrapping up, let's get your assessment of Nigeria's solid minerals sector. What's your take?
In one word, the sector has not even taken off yet. There's a lot.
The sector is not even taking off yet. That's a very interesting one.
Yes, it has not taken off yet because we are still even in the method, they are still very crude. There's still a lot of investment that needs to come into the sector. And also the policy and regulatory environment. It needs to be streamlined. The federal government is asking for this statement. The subnational, there should be a form of coherence in terms of regulatory environment and even in terms of policy direction that would enable investors to come in. These are major things. And if we can kick the mining sector as well as we push agricultural sector, industrialization and all that, we will see the Nigeria that we all desire. And this pain that we are going through as a phase, we will eventually laugh at the end and say, okay, indeed, there is a gain after the pain.
All right, I love it. We're wrapping up on a very positive note. I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this great insights, Dr. Oluwanbepelumi Olanubi.
Thank you
so much. We'll see you again very soon.